Hey everybody, welcome to day 9 of Get Out of the Rat Race Rut. I'm Beth Campbell, career coach and mentor, former corporate captive, now helping you find your work wonderland. If you need somebody to guide you one-on-one through a career or life challenge, send me a message or go to bethannecampbell.com/coach me. I feel like I'm singing it. Thank you so much for being here. If you are watching live, let me know you're here in the comments. If you're watching the replay, give me a hashtag replay. And of course, let me know if you have any questions or feedback so I can address it on a future episode. And I will be doing that in, I think, about a week. Thank you for being here. Feeling pretty good today. I wanted to throw a little promo out for my friend Stella Scott, who she has a great mobile app called Cosmic Strategies. Definitely look it up. And she changed my life with her class, Classy Vintage Mastery, which I took, oh gosh, I want to say April or I think it was April. It really changed my relationship with clothing. So I come on here every day wearing vintage clothing or thrift store clothing, and I'm nearly 100% purchasing all of my clothing at thrift, charity, secondhand type of stores. Some exceptions, shoes and underwear. I do have some exceptions there that I do. But if you're interested in changing your relationship with clothing and learning about sustainability and care and color and style and impact and even, I don't know, I heard she might be even pulling some astrology into it, so that would be cool. I will put the link in the comments when this live is done. Check it out. Very easy, not a lot of time commitment. This is not something that you're gonna have to, put ungodly amounts of hours in. So anyway, Stella Scott, look her up and look in the comments when this live is over. So back to today, the session today, well, yesterday we went pretty deep, right? We went pretty deep and we were talking about preparing for a job loss. And I'll be truthful, I really felt like I got pulled through a knothole. I mean, that's like it's hard for me to talk about that stuff because, well, not only because I lived it, but because I really work hard on keeping a positive mindset, and it takes a lot of effort into overcoming, all of that and going into that darkness because I'm kind of wired to be negative, so I have to work hard to not be negative. So it's a little hard for me when I have to go into that darkness and be, kind of real about, what you have to do when you think you're going to lose your job. And for you, those of you who are living it, I mean, sure, it's even more difficult. When you are faced with losing your job, it is super stressful and it can really bring you down. But it is so important this time, if not other times, but certainly this time, so important to work through that stress, to get yourself to a point where you can start building back up that confidence, because this is a confidence breaker. When you lose your job, especially involuntarily, it is a confidence crusher. So today we're going to talk a little bit about that confidence and what you can do to get a little closer to fine and believe in yourself again. Remember that song with the Indigo Girls? Closer I am. Anyway, so we're going to talk today about self-image. Yes, now you may not believe this, you may be very skeptical, but if you're having chronic career challenges of any kind, or life challenges, your self-image is almost guaranteed to be a factor. And you will be amazed at how your life changes when you focus on improving that self-image. So there's a lot to unpack here. And I'm going to caveat this by saying I am only scratching the surface with my own self-image in my journey. So I'll pass on my wisdom, but just to let you know, I'm like you, I'm still learning all about it. Highly recommend if you would like to learn more and really double down on your mindset and your self-image, look up Eva Paycheck. It's Eva, E-W-A, Paycheck, P-I-E-T-R-Z-A-K. She has this masterclass. It's a free masterclass. I've talked about it in many videos. I've talked about it in many posts, and she runs this masterclass about almost every month. I've promoted it on social media. She's amazing, and she does really some incredible work around self-image and so much more. So shoot me a DM or let me know in the comments if you want to hear more. I'm happy to give you my experience. By the way, she has another masterclass coming up starting next week, September 16, 2024. It runs the whole week. It is not like you don't have to, be 8 hours in the class. This is an hour video and then a little bit of homework, and you can be live, or you can do it on the side doing the replay. So it's called Master Your Business, Master Your Mindset. I'll put a link in the comments. It's free, it's life-changing, and she really goes in the masterclass a lot about self-image and with some really cool stuff. So it, again, changed my life. I can't say enough. Okay, so anyway, what is self-image? So simply put, your self-image is a set of beliefs that you have about yourself. It is the perception that you have of or about yourself. It's often formed when we are younger, but not always. It gets ingrained either through repetition of some feedback that you get about something, and that can be positive or negative. Or sometimes a self-image develops through like a significant emotional event, usually like a trauma. Most of us are aware of things like self-worth, your value, your inner voice. These are all related to that image of ourselves that we hold within. And self-image is instrumental in everything that we do. It drives a lot of what we do and how we make decisions and the actions we take or don't take, how we look, how we interact with people. If you're not getting the results that you want in some area, the first place that I would look is at your self-image. So I'm going to tell you a personal story about me that might help illustrate this and what self-image is and how it's, can be just a part of your life. So I have a pretty, I think, solid, positive self-image in most aspects of my life. So I was praised as a smart kid, got good grades, I excelled in school, I had a successful career for the most part, I made a great income, I'm pretty outgoing, I speak out, I don't shy away from discomfort or failure, I deal well with failure, and yet I have had a negative self-image for myself around weight and appearance since I can remember. My self-image around my appearance is that I'm a fat person and being fat is ugly, because I was told frequently and from a very young age that I was fat and that it was a bad thing. My older brother, who's now deceased, came home from school one day, I think he was about in first grade, we were 2 years apart, and he had a bunch of lovely names for me. Fatty 2x4, can't get through the bathroom door. Bertha Butt and the Butthole Sisters. Fat Slob, Fat Pig, you name it, I got it. Now, he didn't know what he was doing. He was 6 years old. I don't blame him. We had a great relationship, so there's no, lingering feelings that I need to let go of there. But that is when it started. So realistically, I have to, say that's when it started. By the time I started kindergarten, which was a year later, I believed that I was fat and unattractive physically, even though I wasn't either. If I look back at pictures of myself at that time, I was adorable and not fat. But it became a self-fulfilling prophecy because I believed it. And throughout my life, this has been underscored and reiterated by, unaware children and sometimes dickhead adults over and over and over again, mostly by my own inner voice, if I'm being truthful. Subsequently, because I'm only now really, like in the last few months, understanding how my mind works, my weight's been up and down for my entire adult life and probably most of my preteen and teenage years. So I'm constantly working on improving my self-image around my appearance, specifically my weight. Now, other people have deeply ingrained negative self-images that might center around different things, like their intelligence. If you've ever been told by a parent over and over, like your grades aren't good enough and, you can do better, you might have a self-image issue around your intelligence. Failure and discomfort is a big thing, especially people who were either were not allowed to fail because it was just wrong, you're shit if you do, or because they were always compensated when they did fail by a parent usually. And so now they don't know how to deal with failure and discomfort. You might feel unvalued because of your sexuality or your gender or your race or some other thing that you were bullied or made fun of repeatedly when you were younger. It could be something like a technical ability. You could how you speak. Some people have stutters and lisps, and they get made fun of for that or negative feedback for that. A lot of people have self-images like myself around how they look, their appearance, their body features. There's so many things that might be a negative self-image for you or somebody else. The list is really endless. And whether we want to believe it or not, our self-image impacts everything we do. My negative self-image of being a fat slob has absolutely impacted some of the decisions that I've made at work and for my career, both in a traditional job and as a business owner. And yours does too. Because a negative self-image is deeply planted and mostly subconscious, and left to its own devices, it will drive your actions in the way that it sees itself. It's kind of automatic. So if you grew up with a self-image that you were stupid, you might hold back on asking questions in a meeting because you don't want to look dumb, and you might not even know why. If you grew up with a self-image that you were a piece of shit if you fail, or maybe somebody always took care of you if you failed at something, then you might have difficulty dealing with failure and discomfort and uncomfortable change at work. The good news is you can change it. The starting point is thinking of where you're not getting results, and just, like maybe you have a hard time dealing with a difficult coworker and you get triggered on work calls and it comes out, you get angry and frustrated. Explore what it is about those interactions that ping you. I mean, that doesn't mean that the person's not a jerk or off the rails, but why does it affect you so much? Like, think of those types of things. Maybe they remind you of something from your past, like a traumatic event, or a person from your past, or somebody that was in your life that dealt with challenging people with their own anger and frustration. So you learned that. Just think about those areas where you're not getting results, identify, what it is that it is about that, and then you can work on it. And it takes effort, but you can change those deeply rooted self-image issues, and there are a lot of techniques that can help. One of the things that I've started to do lately as I'm doing this mindset work with this program by Ava Paycheck is I start thinking about those challenging memories that I had, and there are so many of them when I was made fun of, and I change them to a positive memory in my mind. Like, I change the scenario, I change the outcome in my imagination. And by the way, this works when you're manifesting too. I mean, Rhonda Byrne in The Secret talks about if you don't like how something went during your day, change it, visualize it differently. If you said something that you wish you hadn't have said, visualize yourself doing it, saying something different. If you didn't think of that great, perfect thing to say, reimagine it in your mind. And she, somebody in her show or her book talked about doing that, every night. Excuse me. So as an example, I will think about my brother or other people who would make fun of me, and I take their words and I reinvent them. So fatty 2x4 can't get through the bathroom door. I heard that a ton. I change that to, whenever I hear that like in my brain, I just change it to fit and healthy, 1 by 1, strong and smart and lots of fun. It sounds kind of weird but it works. It really, really, really does work. I'm like retraining my self-image. If I ever hear like Bertha Butt and the Butthole Sisters, I change it to Beth Anne Beautiful and the Badass Sisters. So I replay these moments over and over and over in my head. I repeat the new words aloud or even sometimes in my head, and I change the past to change my self-image. This might be a little awkward for you at first. Most self-image work is, I'm not going to kid you, it was awkward for me. You might be cynical. I was very cynical. I was like, there's no way. But give it a try. It really does work, and you get used to it. After a while, it's just like secondhand. So some other techniques that you could use. Forgiveness. So I learned this one in the program that I'm enrolled in, that I've talked about, that is the part of this masterclass that I'm talking about, Thinking Into Results, run by Ava Paycheck. So the people who framed your negative self-image, you might need to forgive them. You might need to forgive yourself, and there are some things that you can do around that. Similar to forgiveness is letting go, which is a huge, huge factor. I see this all the time. I did a whole podcast about it in career fulfillment. Letting go is such a big factor. I'm going to be talking about letting go tomorrow in much more detail. But letting go is letting go of that energy around the people who wronged you, or traumatic situations, or toxic work conditions that just kind of stuck with you, and you just can't move on in some cases. You can redefine yourself in the context of your negative self-image, and you can be that person. So it's kind of like a goal. Like you can't be the person you want to be if you don't know what that is. So define your ideal self. Use the ideal day model that we use, the ideal work day from day 2, and define your ideal you, and then be your new self. Make decisions and take action as if you are already that person. Act like somebody who isn't afraid to fail or be uncomfortable. Act like someone who's the smartest person in the world. Ask that dumb question in the meeting and propose the solution that you've been afraid to offer. Fake it till you make it. True. Another way is you can work on your self-image is to practice gratitude for things that you're struggling with as if they were already overcome. So you could, say in your gratitude routine, I'm so grateful that I can stand up in that meeting and speak up in front of the executives like a pro. Like if you had maybe a self-image issue with maybe speaking in front of people. You can find people that embody what you need to work on and you can emulate them. So study them, do what they do. Are you aloof and standoffish because your spark was put out as a kid, like maybe one of your parents? Be Taylor Swift. And I know I talk about Taylor Swift a lot, but I literally think to myself, because I tend to be a kind of hardwired to be more sarcastic and bitter. I have to really work. I talked at the beginning of this session about how I have to work on my positive outlook because I tend to be snarky and I will literally like say to myself in certain situations where I know I might be triggered or might be difficult or I might kind of fall back to that sarcastic, aloof sort of person. And I just be like, no, I'm going to be Taylor Swift. How Taylor Swift, when you see her in a concert and she's just hugging all the kids and she's like, she'll make eye contact and it's like, you're her best friend. Like, oh my God, hi, I saw you. I love your podcast. I mean, it's just, so I literally pretend to be, I say, channel my inner Taylor Swift. And again, emulating people is another thing I learned from this Thinking into Results program that started with the masterclass. Again, I don't mean to sound like I'm hawking it, but I am hawking it because I believe in it. It has really changed my life. So and that's where I got this from. So self-image work can be uncomfortable at first, but discomfort is not your enemy. Discomfort is the gateway to growth. Every time I walk into the kitchen and I'm craving something, and that's usually because I'm avoiding something stressful. One of my coaches in the past called it procrastinating. So I avoid stress by going into the kitchen, which is very easy when you work from home. So every time I walk into the kitchen, I'm craving something, that self-image from my past says, fatty 2x4, why don't you just eat some junk food? I mean, that's what you are anyway, just you'll feel so much better. It's uncomfortable to not do that, to not give in to the craving, but I have to change, so I have to work through that discomfort. And then later, when I feel good about getting through it, I celebrate it. That's another thing, is when you make a milestone, even if it's small, celebrate it. I have gratitude. I relish the moment. I journal my gratitude. I made it through this moment and I didn't, run to the store and, eat a Snickers bar. I focus on the positive outcome. But nor do I beat myself up if I do. So, okay. So working on your self-image, it will improve your life. Believing that you are what you desire to be and what you deserve to be, it will change your life profoundly. And more importantly, not working on your self-image gaps is going to keep you right where you are, because the ones that you have in place right now that don't work for you, that you're like, they're pivoting you back onto the path, which is what you don't desire, right? So you're not getting the results because they're constantly taking you back to the path that the self-image embodies. It's like a cruise control in your car. Like if you go too fast, it corrects the speed so your car slows down. If you're going uphill, you get more gas so that you can maintain speed. Your negative self-image is really any self-image is your subconscious cruise control. It drives what you do, how you act, who you are, how you look, etc. And if you want to change that, you really do have to start from within. And the amazing thing is, it won't just be your career that changes. It will be everything. Now, self-image work is not something that you can complete in a day. It doesn't have to take forever, but it does take some focus and concerted effort. But it's important enough to do that. So, okay, folks, so much more on self-image. If you really want to work on it with some great tools that have helped me and others, send me a DM. Go to bethannecampbell.com/coachme. We can do some one-on-one time, or look up the masterclass that I'm talking about and go in there and work on it. because there's just so much, and it is so important. And again, just to reiterate, it feels weird and awkward when you first starting it. I've heard so many people say this, but it becomes so much easier. I mean, I do some things where I talk to myself in the mirror, and this is, again, I learned this from this Thinking into Results course. Really, actually learned it from the masterclass, which starts next week, by the way. But now I just, it used to be like kind of weird, like talking to myself, and I'm like, oh my God, I feel like Stuart Smalley, I'm good enough. I'm so terrific. But it really does get a lot better. And I do walk all the time. Every time I look in a mirror when I'm doing my makeup, I kind of talk to myself and I'm like, man, you are just a badass. And I talk about how I look and how I feel. And so, okay. So tomorrow we're going to dive into letting go, which I've talked about a lot. As I mentioned earlier on social media, I did a podcast on it. As a career coach and a 23-year veteran of corporate and consulting life, I rank letting go as probably in the top, definitely in the top 5 of things that you probably don't realize are negatively affecting your career and your life fulfillment. So should be a good one. It's very important. All right, I'm going to the comments because I see Ms. Stephanie is in here. Oh, Stephanie, I love you so much. Okay, let me see if I can pull up these comments here. Let me go back. Okay, avoidance doesn't make it easier. Oops, hello. Thank you, Facebook. By the way, Facebook, I went into my my Facebook live video hub today, like I normally do, as I always do, and I pull up my scheduled Facebook events, which I have scheduled these for the entire month, and it's not there. So I had to literally go to my phone, double checked. It's on my phone. I can get to it from my phone. I sent myself the link to today and pulled it up, and then it pulled right up. But when I went to the hub, it wasn't there. So thank you, Facebook. I love you and I hate you. Anyway, sorry, Stephanie. Avoidance doesn't make it easier or stop it from happening. Why is Facebook moving? Okay, we're going to not let it move. It's changing my comments around. Avoidance doesn't make it easier or stop it from happening. Thank you, Beth, for being brave, vulnerable, and real, and empowering others to be the same. Well, thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate that. It's not an easy thing to talk about, being made fun of, but, hopefully it'll inspire other people to recognize, hey, look, stuff happened, and it's not really my fault, and it wasn't in my control, but I do have the power to change it. So that's all we can do. Self-image, and it's more than physical traits. Exactly. I mean, it really comes from within, and it manifests in how we feel about ourselves outwardly, but it really is coming within. And thank you for the hugs. Can I put in so many hearts? You do anthos. I love you, Stephanie. Growth can be uncomfortable, but without it, where would we be? That's exactly right. There's a guy that I follow. I was in a little workshop that he did. His name is Jason Seib, and he is, I want to say former, because I think he still does a little fitness coaching, but he was a fitness coach, a nutrition coach for many, many years. And he had all these women that would go in his program and they would be really successful until they weren't, until they just decided, or for whatever reason, they just stopped. Like they would, like everybody out there, anybody who's out there who's ever been challenged with weight or health, it's up and down, especially if you've been or believed that you were that way since childhood. And he got a little frustrated, like, why are they so successful? But then as soon as the program stops, he calls it quitting, right? And one of the things he honed in on is that they struggle with being uncomfortable, because it is uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable when I walk into the kitchen and I'm having a craving or I'm procrastinating, right? And I need something to get me in that mood. And there's so much, there that is not going to be serving my body and my health. Forget looks. It's just not serving. It's not going to make me feel good. I'm going to have brain fog. Going to have an episode on that, by the way. Was just working on that. And all the things, the way that, what we eat and we put in our bodies and how we treat our bodies can impact how we feel. And it's uncomfortable to not do that, to not get the dopamine hit, to not, get that comfort food to make me feel like, comforted like I probably did when I was a kid. And, there's a whole lot to unpack there. And this is not Beth's therapy session, but But that was one of the things I learned from him. And he has this great phrase that I've quoted many times, and it's discomfort is the herald of opportunity. What's on the other side of discomfort and fear is usually really good, right? It's usually positive, but it's just getting there that's the hard part, because nobody likes to be uncomfortable. But and so it seems a little, I don't know, a little bit of a conflict to be such a positive outlook person, but then also say, well, yeah, I embrace discomfort and I try to. But the truth is that discomfort in dealing with it and managing it is a good thing. So because it does make us stronger. So anyway, thank you, Stephanie, for those comments. Appreciate it. Okay, so don't forget to connect with me here on Facebook or on LinkedIn if you're not already. And thanks everybody for joining Get Out of the Rat Race Rut. You're here because you're a badass. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. I shall see you tomorrow for Letting Go. Bye.